Nick Wright, haven't talked to him in a while. First things first, host. So I have been watching a lot of Olympics. The other day I was just glued to our men's gymnastics team. NBC, I think, has done a great job of storytelling. I've also watched the men's and the women's basketball. So let's talk about the men's team. If I said to you, what jumps off the TV, Nick? What to you has maybe surprised you or has been the thing that just is you can't unsee?
Well, I mean, the best players are the oldest guys. I mean, LeBron has been the best player by far. KD came back for one game. He looked like the best player, played basically a perfect game of basketball, and Steph has been as consistent. The only other guy who's even in the conversation is Anthony Davis. And so under this format, with rest between games, with these guys, I know KD obviously coming off, an injury scare, but otherwise the guy's healthy. I really think that you can make the case that those are the best American-born players still. So that jumped out to me, and it's remarkable. That Steph, LeBron, and KD are all older than Larry Bird was in the 92 Olympics, when in the 92 Olympics it was like, oh, that's old, broken Bird. Well, Bird was 35. LeBron turns 40 in a few months. KD and Steph are 35 and 36. So that is, in and of itself, remarkable to me. The other thing that obviously has jumped out is it wasn't a mistake to not play Jason Tatum. And I think people are looking at it a little wrong, which is Tatum is not competing with Drew Holiday or Derek White for minutes because those guys have specific roles as defensive guards. He's obviously not competing with Bam, AD, or Embiid for minutes because those are the bigs, and Embiid's obviously been disappointing. He is competing with the wings for minutes, which means he's competing with LeBron James, who is better than him, Kevin Durant, who in one game certainly looked better than him, and then the question mark, Devin Booker. But with this shortened three-point line, those long twos Booker loves so much are actually threes, and he's been excellent. And so I don't blame Steve Kerr for not playing Jason Tatum. It is just an odd few months for Jason Tatum where he wins a championship, and somehow winning the championship and then being on the Olympics, he might have a ring and a gold medal. And when people are doing their 1 through 10 NBA player rankings, they move Tatum down over the last couple months. That's incredibly odd, but obviously it jumps out.
I want to shift to the NFL, and I had said this earlier. The gap between the all-timers and even very good players, and Tatum's a great example, very good player. The gap between an all-NBA guy and a legend, LeBron, Michael, Kobe, Shaq, is gigantic. Here's the gap between Mahomes and everybody else. The top 100 players voted on by the players has come out. The Chiefs don't have a single player in the first 90. They are absurdly top-heavy. Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, Mahomes. The Jets have 6. The Dolphins have 7. The crappy Giants have 2. Denver's got 2. The Chiefs have none. And it's like the
Niners, who the Chiefs the Niners, who the Chiefs just beat in the Super Bowl, have 7 in the top 30. They have 7 in the top 30. The Chiefs, have now. To be fair, I think Creed Humphrey should have been on there. I think he's the best center in football now that Kelce retired. I think Trent McDuffie should have been on there. He was an all-pro corner, but he wasn't. L'Jarius Sneed, who's no longer on the team, was an all-pro caliber guy. He also was not on the top 100. So it's not even like, but they had a guy who then left the team. Yeah, what they have is, I think the Chiefs have a lot of good young players and then the greatest player in the history of the league. Not the most accomplished, not the GOAT, I understand that, but the most talented, uplifting, make everyone their best self player, and obviously a great scheme to go along with it. And then you add Travis Kelce, who is the greatest postseason receiver ever. Like, that's receiver or tight end. The most prolific postseason pass catcher ever is Travis Kelce. And Chris Jones, who is now that Aaron Donald's retired, the best D tackle in football. All of that comes together. You don't have to have an all-star team. Now, the Niners, on the other hand, do have an all-star team, and they have, according to, this list, one of the 10 best quarterbacks in football, quarterback ranked number 28 on the list. I think that's absurd on its face. I don't think there's anyone that actually thinks Brock Purdy is better than Matt Stafford, but he ends up higher on the list than him. And so, yeah, I mean, it was a little surprising to me that Creed Humphrey didn't make the list. But other than that, you kind of knew it would be Mahomes, Kelsey, and Chris Jones, and then a bunch of guys that folks, tend not to, they either overlook or tend not to believe in until they're holding the trophy at the end of the year.
So this is a little thing. I can just see it now. You're gonna give me crap for this. But
okay.
You shouldn't, because you're a great poker player, and poker is about detail and precision and bluffing. So you probably lie to me half the time. You're probably a great bluffer.
Sure. Go ahead.
So I said this years ago, and we have the video of it. There was a moment with Dak Prescott, and I got crap for this, but he threw a cup over his shoulder, and it missed the garbage can. And he went and picked it up and put it in, because somebody else was going to have to do that if he didn't. And I thought, he was a rookie, and I thought, oh, this is a moment. He gets it. He's not a narcissist. He's not selfish. And he also knows, just be respectful for the environment. So Caleb Williams talked to his teammates the other day. There's a story out. He said, guys, the locker room's a mess. Clean it up. You got janitors here doing all of our work. We're grown men. Clean this crap up. It's embarrassing. And one of his teammates came out, a veteran, and said, man, he gets it. Like it's about the details. And I know this has a hat-on backwards feel to it. But honestly,
go ahead.
I looked at that with Caleb Williams, and I went, it's going to work. It's going to work on that. And look, you're laughing at me. You're already laughing at me.
No, I'm not laughing at you. This is what I tell my youngest daughter sometimes. I'm not laughing at you. I'm smiling out loud. This is just, I'm so happy with this. You can hear it. No, because here is the thing. This is one of those things you say, like the hat on backwards thing, that if the quote is pulled, you will have people attack you. And yes, in a way, it is absurd, but also in a way, much like the hat on backwards thing, it is the exact mind frame that all of us use to evaluate people or personalities or actions. It's this, to me, I'm going to use not the apples to apples analogy, but I'll land the plane, I promise. I think that there is nothing more disqualifying about a human being that you could, just casually observe than if they treat people in the service industry terribly.
Agree.
I'm like, oh, you just don't have, there are things about you that I know I won't like. That I know just from observing that one thing that you and I are going to be fundamentally opposed on a lot of things. So I think that is the same logic of, and I remember the Dak thing from 8 years ago, which was, oh, it's not everything. And if he hadn't gone and picked it up, it wouldn't necessarily be a big deal. But it does give you a small window into who that person is. And Caleb Williams, who I do think one of the unfair knocks on him was going to be entitled, spoiled diva. The fact that he is saying, hey, guys, let's not leave all of this to the janitorial staff or the not trainers, but the equipment managers. I do think that is a bit of a window. So I don't think that is nothing. I don't think it's ridiculous. Now, there's a little confirmation bias for me, I'm sure, because I think the Bears are going to be excellent, and I think Caleb is going to be great. But if people are watching this and saying that's ridiculous, I think a good test is always, well, what if the exact opposite story came out? How would you think about it? What if the story that came out is Bears locker room, pretty pristine, except for Caleb Williams' stall, which is a pigsty? Everybody's picking up after themselves except for him. He's got old Gatorade bottles and dirty towels and all of it. If that would be at least a little concerning for the franchise quarterback, then the opposite has to be at least a little reassuring for the franchise quarterback.
Finally, well, maybe not finally. I said yesterday and the day before, and I got a lot of crap for it. I said, listen, if you pay your quarterback $55 million, I don't want an asterisk. There's no asterisk. Okay, with Tua, he's the only quarterback where, as long as he doesn't have to play in cold weather, I love him. Well, I can't pay you $55 million. I saw the Kansas City game, and that's with Tyreek Hill, the best deep threat in the league. So Jordan Love may be young and raw, but there's no qualifying. He's got a whip. He can move. He's smart, great at the podium, coachable. Tua's got an asterisk, and not even the injuries. The last 5 AFC championship games are played in 33-degree weather with wind. I don't like the contract. It's double what I would have paid him.
Yeah.
You tell me.
So listen, the Love thing, let me start on Love just quickly. Love is just very unique because we've never had a player get to the end of their rookie deal and seem to warrant this type of extension with this small of a playing sample.
Yeah.
And so the love, but what we've seen is excellent, but there is a concern in the back of your head of, man, what if he just caught fire for 2 months? We don't have enough to, base it off of, but you had no choice. Tua, I feel like everyone knows what he is, and some people are just, I guess they feel like it's mean to admit it, which is he is a physically limited, undersized quarterback who has an ideal roster of weapons, an excellent offensive-minded head coach, and despite that, plays his worst football of the year against his best opponents. Last year, the reason they had to go to Kansas City in round 1 was because Baltimore and Buffalo beat them in week 17 and 18. And he also, obviously, to your point, doesn't play well in the cold. So to me, the Tua contract is bad on multiple levels. The first one is this. Even if you think he's good, Colin, does anyone think during this contract he is going to be better than Mahomes, Lamar, Josh, C.J. Stroud, and I think I'm leaving one out that everybody loves, but that's 4. Oh, Joe Burrow. Thank you, the Joe Burrow. That's 5 in his conference. That's not even to mention your guy Justin Herbert or my guy Trevor Lawrence. Throw all those guys out. Even his biggest supporters, I don't think believe he's going to be top 5 in his conference. If you're not top 5 in your conference, then you're probably not going to be able to earn this contract. And the other piece of it that I think is just, to me, obvious, but a lot of people struggle with, is you don't have an obligation to pay a guy at this position based on what he's done. You have an obligation to your team to pay a guy based on what you think he will do.
Right.
And by paying him, you know he's not going to have this type of roster or supporting cast around him long term. And so I would not have done it. I also, on the cold weather part of it, Colin, it is interesting. Not being able to play well in cold weather is a way bigger AFC problem than NFC problem. Because in the AFC, the best teams, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Ravens the last few years, Cincinnati the year before, the Jets, if J-Mac's right and they get it together. The only team that's been consistently in the mix is Miami. That is not outdoor cold weather. Houston, obviously, we'll see if they get there. They have a dome. The NFC, on the other hand, it's Green Bay and Philly are outdoor cold weather. Dallas is a dome. San Francisco's decent weather. Detroit's, well, the whole NFC North essentially, or not, the NFC South, I should say, plus Detroit's a dome. Minnesota's a dome. The Los Angeles Rams. You might be able to play in the NFC and get through a playoff run without having to go outside. You're not going to be able to do that in the AFC unless Miami gets the 1 seed, and I don't think Tua has proven that he's good enough start to finish in a season to get a 1 seed.
I want to circle back to something. This will be my finally. As I watch, one of the things that struck me before what struck you was, oh, wait, Anthony Davis and LeBron, if you count the exhibition games, may be the two best players. It is almost an indictment of the Lakers that the two best players in the world, AD has just been dominant, and LeBron's the best player. And my take is, and they're not winning a playoff game? Like, what? That was my take. It's like, if I'm a Laker fan, if we just get a 3, if we just get a third, what do you make of my perception?
So
there?
It's totally maddening. It's an indictment on coaching. It's an indictment on roster construction. And the Lakers, much like the Dallas Cowboys this offseason, has decided, you know what? We weren't close to good enough last year, so let's make no changes. And there has been a rush in the media over the last few years to prematurely downgrade LeBron's stature in the league as far as his player ranking, because it's like, oh, he's in year 19. Oh, he's in year 20. He's in year 21. He's almost 40 years old. When LeBron is producing, not at the level he was a decade ago where he was hands down the best player in the world, but where, again, the point I was making at the beginning, take out Luka, Jokic, and Giannis, those 3 guys. Is there a player alive who is obviously, clearly better, other than those 3 guys, than LeBron James is right now? I don't think so. I think he's the best player on Team USA. If someone wants to say, well, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, fine, I disagree, but fine, that would put LeBron at 5. Anthony Davis has been healthy the last year and a half. He's been available, and the Lakers still can't get anything done. And so, yeah, that is an indictment on Pelinka. It's an indictment on Darvin Ham. Also, and I know they won a title with him, but these Olympics have not been great for Frank Vogel's stature either. It's like, well, I had LeBron and AD, then I had Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. I could do nothing the last few years with either one of them. They all seem to be pretty good at this stage. So, yeah, it is an incredibly frustrating thing. And one last point on this, Colin, because LeBron is locked in and emotionally super invested. I wonder if it is bouncing around in the back of LeBron's head, man, these might be the last really meaningful basketball games of my life.
Yes, yes.
If he stays with the Lakers,
yes,
and they're clearly not making any more moves, and his plan is only to play 1 or 2 more years, he might, while I'm sure he believes, well, maybe we can go further, I'm sure he is recognizing it's on the board that the highest stake games I play in the rest of my basketball life are these next few weeks in Paris.
Yeah, it reminds me of Brady's last couple of years. They won the Super Bowl, then they had to move off people, and they didn't have quite the roster. And it did feel like in the biggest moments, Tom still had it. Tom wanted you to know, oh, I could keep playing. I don't have the roster. I don't have the O-line. But I'm the same way. I do think Tom at the end, the games for Tom and LeBron, most of their career, they've prepared diligently for every game. But I do think at the very end, Tom and LeBron are like, no, these games actually mean more. I want to.
On that note, sorry to interrupt, but I know we have to go. Just the next time, because I know you and Tom at this point are, deep personal friends. Yeah. Close friends. He hangs out on the couch. You guys chat. The next time you guys have one of your powwows, I know it's going to be about, Cowboys, Browns, and his broadcasting on Fox and the NFL. Carve out 2 minutes to get his take on that exact thing, about his take on LeBron at this stage in his career, because I don't know that I've ever heard Brady talk long form about LeBron, but those 2 guys and like maybe Lionel Messi are the only people in the world who really know what the other person's going through. Yeah. I'd be super interested in that. So when you're talking with your buddy Tommy, who I know you call him off the air, like if you could ask him about that, that'd be helpful for all of us.
Of as many hats, Nick is now a producer for The Herd, which is
producing The Herd. Yeah. Anything, the more you can do. That's what they always say, Colin, the more you can do.
The great Swiss Army knife of my generation, Nick Wright. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from The Herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.